across the globe. Race against the computer.
Well, Sunday night, we're back again to do a little bit of Mazda racing. This is Racer Nexus. I'm Rob Campbell. In the booth with me tonight, Mac Nelson. Welcome in, Mac. Your first taste of some Apex this Mazda action at a track that probably suits it well for action, maybe a little carnage too as well, V.I.R.
Yeah, I agree, man. V.I.R. Once again, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Pleasure to be on the board, on the booth here with you, Rob. Big boss, man, Rob Campbell. Letting the young gun in to get his taste of some Mazdas here. And yeah, this is one of those tracks, Rob, that when you start the iRacing official service, a lot of these rookie series are going to be on V.I.R. So you're going to get very accustomed to this track very quick. And you know, when you think about it, it's very vanilla. It's a very basic combo here. The Mazda MX-5 and the Virginia International Raceway, man, it's going to be one heck of a time.
It certainly is. We got a couple new drivers joining us this season, but if you've been hanging around Racer Nexus for the last, I'm going to say 6 months or so, you may have seen some of these names. Lincoln Fox from the Top Split coverage of Production Car Challenge. Very, very talented driver. Should be interesting to see how he does today against some of our regulars in the Apex this league. But you know what, Mac? We've got a championship in this league. So while we kind of wait for qualifying to tick down here, let's go and take a look and see what it looks like our drivers are shaping up here as they come in. Why don't you take us through the Pro and MPL, which is our mid-pack Larry AM class.
Well, it looks like our Pro Series is going to be headed by Jim Feliz there with 289 points. It's going to be a decent step down into Brian Lemke's territory. He sits at 219. Coming in at P3 in the championship, going to be Charles Wolf there with 201. Joshua Soto right behind him with 197. Michael Broke going to be in P5 with 173. So although there is some disparity, there is some distance, it's definitely doable for a lot of these drivers to make up that change here tonight. As for your mid-pack Larry's here, the MPL series, Keegan Gehrig is going to be leading that with 187, but don't look away just yet. Aaron Sunday in P2, only 6 points behind with 181. And then we go back to P3, it's going to be Justin back there with 177 in P3. So it's going to be an extremely tight three-headed horse run to the finish here as we get developed in this season. Sean Giroux in P4 with 160, and tied with him is going to be Dylan Foster, also sitting on 160.
Yeah, pretty tight battle there in the AM side of things, but let's take a look here at the track we're at. As you mentioned, V.I.R. Alton, Virginia, where it's located. First opened in 1957, was closed in 1974, sat dormant for long time, 26 years before it opened back up again in March 2000. We're in the GP circuit tonight, 5.262 kilometers, 3.27 miles. And you can see a number of different layouts here at V.I.R. We've actually ran the full grand layout in the past, Mac, and it's in the Mazdas no less, and it was a long lap time. I think it was 3.5, 4 minutes almost as far as lap time. But take a look at the schedule here. We are at round 9 with only 3 more rounds to go. After tonight, we head to Laguna Seca next week. Bathurst is going to finish things up at Road America. And you know what? Qualifying just about come to the end here, Mac. Let's take a quick look and see how things are shaping up here before we get to the end of qualifying.
Yeah, so it looks like Michael Chase here, who is going to be very, very rapid, Rob. That's going to be a 2-minute 06.933, heading himself in overall and pro class. And, you know, something you told me before this broadcast started, if you're new here like me, you know, this is my first time seeing Apex this Mazda. I mean, I've watched some in the past, but this is my first time seeing it hands-on. So correct me if I'm wrong here, Rob. Drivers are going to be scored separately, not overall. It's going to be class-based scoring. Is that correct?
You are correct. So, well, with that being said, we'll see some drivers where they may necessarily not be battling, or the driver coming up behind them will just pull over and let them. Well, I shouldn't say pull over. They'll kind of lift off a little bit and let them through, versus battling where it's some other leagues where points are doled out for where you finish in the overall position. You'll see those drivers battle to the death, regardless of what class they're in. So that's kind of nice here, where you know you're not battling everybody on track. You're only got to worry about the guys in your class. You get a faster guy coming up in a faster class. There's no need to hold him up. Just let him through and move on. And for some reason, iRacing's giving us the old Minecraft tree here as we wait for the session to finish up. I'm not sure what that's all about, but let's take a look at our grid. Mac, why don't you take us through the first 5 rows?
Yes, sir. Row number 1 going to be Michael Chase, like we said, with Joshua Soto there in P2. Row number 2 is going to belong to Jim Feliz, and P4 going to Lincoln Fox in that number 48. P5 going to Tony Wallace. Outside of that, row number 3 going to be Kurt Moss. Row number 4, Brian Lemke, Sean Gapinski in P8. That Mario Kart, that is very nice. Row number 5 is going to be Oz Exilu and Brian Zinn.
Row 6, Joseph Meyer and John Cooper are 11th and 12th. And 13th place going to go to Spencer Bodway. He'll have Kent Kruger, the chief admin, to his outside in row 7. Row 8, we're going to find Justin Back, one of our AM competitors, at the top of the point standing, with Michael Tanagretta to his outside in 16th. Row 9, it's going to be Ryan Ryder in 17th and John Monsalve in 18th. And rounding out the top 10 rows, it's going to be Sean Teeter in 19th and Keegan Garrick in 20th. Who we have in row 11, Mac?
Row number 11 goes to Corey Mitchell and Sean Giroux. They take P21 and P22. Row number 12 is going to go to Yue Hale and Glenn Blanchard. I apologize if I said P23's name wrong. Row number 13 is going to go to Aaron Sunday with P26. Outside being Kelly Greeno. P27, Juan Colmenero. P28, Eric Elkins. Row number 15, Keon Maduro and Lewis Sullivan.
And rounding up the field, Jacob 16. Nelson in our 31 cars taken to the grid here tonight. Mac, should be fun. Just the right amount of cars, I think, to have a ton of fun in Mazdas here this evening.
Oh, I agree heavily. I mean, once you get in to the rookie series of iRacing, and I think even the C-Class Advanced Mazda series, I believe they don't take grids that big in those races. So, I mean, for a lot of these drivers here, this league is where they're going to be getting, you know, sort of this full grid, high octane action. As you see, Tony Wallace there, MAV Motorsport driver, starting this race in P4. He's got set up on the cams. Amazing stuff there. Clean setup too. Hey, if you look good, you play good. And I assume that translates to you look good, you race good as well.
Yeah, it looks like Tony might have froze there for a second. We'll see if we can get his cam refreshed. But we also have another driver on track sharing their cams too as well, and that is Brian Zinn. Let's see if I can find him. There he is. So we got Brian Zinn also doing commentating here on Racers Nexus occasionally too as well. So he'll be sharing his cam with us. So 2 drivers we can take and see how frustrated they get once they get involved in some kind of action here tonight, Mac.
Yes, sir. That's my boy, Brian Zinn. I call him Zinny. My very first night broadcasting with Racer Nexus, he was my partner in the booth, along with you, Mr. Rob, running the production. So, I mean, it's cool to see broadcast partner Zinny there getting some racing in. Hey, they always say the broadcasters need to stay in the booth, but I disagree, man. I think we need to get out on the track. I think we need to be burning some rubber just as much as these guys.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with doing a little bit of racing. Nothing wrong with that. It keeps you sharp, Mac. I say that, but I haven't jumped behind the wheel in forever. I did a few laps the other day just to check out a track that I haven't driven yet, just to kind of get an idea of it for a broadcast. But you know what? It had been so long since I actually hopped in the sim rig, did some driving. Everything felt extremely fast. It felt like I was on hyper speed. You don't get used to. You lose that feeling of everything kind of rushing by you. So it took me probably a good 15 minutes to get back up to speed again. But I'm gonna have to do a little more racing, I think.
Yeah, racing is fun, and I mean, I agree. I hop on the rig, and the main thing is I don't do it as much as I should. I don't race as often as I really want to. So I notice it in the shoulders, in the core upper body. That, you know, that's the magic 12 Newton meter wheel. That thing goes crazy, man.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising how quickly the old force feedback can make your arms a little weary, a little tired, especially if you get into like doing the Indy cars where they don't have power steering, and you're doing a short oval where you're constantly turning left the whole time. My arms are throbbing by the end. But as the field heads into the last couple corners here, turns 16 and 17, this is a go on green league, so the leader will not be able to get a jump. The pack will have to stay in qualifying order here until the green flag comes out. Barney chooses to wave it, and then they can go. So if we notice that they're not going until the very last second, that is why. But Michael Chase, Joshua Soto getting ready to lead us down into turn one. 31 cars, Mac. Looks like we have a couple drivers actually starting from the pits, so it looks like about 28 drivers going to be heading into turn one. Should be interesting. Cold tires, and we are underway. Michael Chase leading the way. Soto looking to the outside, that red, green, and white machine on the outside. Jim Flees giving Chase a little bump draft into turn one, but so far so good. Looking fairly clean as we keep going back through the field here. Nicely done. That's what we like to see.
Yeah, keeping it nice and tidy, nice and cordial. 2 wide, some going even 3 wide. We get a little bit of a look at Jim Feliz there. And, you know, these Mazdas, man, they are very, very low on the power. They are very fun to drive. They are a handful. So notice these drivers going to try to induce what my sim racing coach, Suelio Alameda, has described as a neutral slide. You know, you want to try to get some oversteer out of your back tires, but you also want to try to get some understeer out of your front tires. So you kind of just glide along the apex of the circuit, and that's obviously the fastest way around. So these drivers, this car, very, very good about making drivers practice that once they get started here in the iRacing official service.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely a car that is all about keeping as much momentum as you can on track as we head into a real high momentum section here. The old Oak Tree corner, which, you know, Rip Oak Tree no longer around. See Michael Chase get a little bit of a slide through that final corner. That's going to compromise his exit speed here, Max. So we can see exactly what happens in that case. Joshua Soto right there on the bumper now, giving a little bit of bump draft. We look back here, Tony Walsh using that draft up and behind. So Tony, one of our camera cars. Unfortunately, the camera is out on him right now still, so we'll see if maybe we can pick that back up for the feature race. But top 3 here trying to break away from our Pro Championship leader, Jim Flees, currently in 4th place.
Yeah, Jim Feliz having a little bit of a struggle here on the opening lap, like cold tires, all that, you know, first lap jitters. You've got to get that out of your system. So I expect the pace to kind of ramp up for him. But yeah, it's been just a tiny bit of a struggle as we see Uwe Hale there. Sean Gabinski now for Degenerate Motorsports in P7. It looks like we're taking...
Uwe Hale had, looks like a connection issue for him. He got the old iRacing send back to the pits, get that connection figured out and come back out. So we'll see if Uwe Hale can get himself back on track.
Yeah, and although I do think they're being a little harsh with the requirements to have you get sent back into the pits, as we take a look at Zinni there, I do think it's a very good idea and a little late on the development, if I'm being honest, with iRacing. But, you know, can't change the past. What's done is done. I'm really glad they have that feature in the service now. Brian Zinn going for a little bit of an overtake there around the inside. You can hear a little bit of beating and banging back there, Rob, in that back right. And I mean, with these Mazdas, you can definitely do that.
Yeah, they like, well, I shouldn't say they like, if you watch the pro Mazda drivers, especially at tracks like say Daytona, where they ran the Rolex 24. The Mazda's always fun to watch the pre-race. They'll go elbows out, shoulders out, knees out. They'll give hip checks all up and down the track, Max. So it's nice to see that even with the iRacing Mazdas, you can do a little hip checking here and there. So we had a couple cars off in the back. It's like John Munsolf, Michael Taggart. Oh man, Munsolf came bunny hopping back through the grass. I don't know how he didn't clear out half the field there, but somehow miraculously, once he hit back on the tarmac, it was like he hit a wall and that car just slowed right up.
Yeah, I mean, iRacing is known as the premier driving simulator, but that looked like something straight out of Gran Turismo. We'll go back and take a look here. Michael Tanagoretta in that number 200. He starts to get a little wobbly. He has a spin going through that crest there. It's a high-speed crest, and yeah, like he said, John Munsolf there in the 505 getting airborne, legitimate airborne before he comes to the stop. Still made the corner.
What a save for him, but I'm not sure what happened to Joshua Soto while we're having a look at those replays. He has went from second place now all the way down to sixth place. So having a quick look here at timing and scoring to see what happened. And let's see, looks like Tony Wallace passed Joshua Soto here. Let's see what happened here. Soto was looking comfortable in the second place. Wallace got by him, Feliz, Lemke, Fox all got by him too as well. So I'm not sure, maybe Joshua Soto looks like he might have had to serve a slowdown. Black flag pulled off to the side, let those cars through, Mac.
Yeah, taking the, taking off from the racing line, slowing his pace by about 20%. Yeah, I'd say you're right, Rob. I'd say you got some sort of slowdown somewhere, probably in that last sector. I know iRacing tweaks about track limits a little bit in that final sector. So John Cooper in the 77 Mazda here, sitting in P10. He is in that pro division as well, so top 10 all going to be pros, as I'm sure is a commonality here. As we go picture in picture, Michael Chase, your leader in that 371. He leads the conga line through the first two sectors of the track. And I mean, it's going to be a lot of this, Rob. These Mazdas, very, very good in the slipstream. Plenty of overtaking chances when you're using that toe here. And I think we're going to have some gnarly runs down the back straight.
Yeah, it's interesting. Looks like the cloud cover came out all of a sudden. We've lost the sun, got really dark out there on track. So I'm wondering how that's going to play with as far as grip levels. But as you see, Brian's in, starting to pull away from Kurt Moss. He got an excellent exit out of Oak Tree. Now Moss having to deal with John Cooper, Sean Kapinski, Spencer Bodway, and Ozek Sulu all in tow. We see Cooper giving a bump draft there to Moss as they head up through the back straight, heading up into NASCAR corner. So he's going to try and make a move around the outside, but Moss going to have the preferred line, and the inside here should be able to hold on to that spot. Cooper going to have to find another way around.
Yeah, and what's so dangerous about that corner, Rob, is it's completely blind. You're going over that crest at such a high speed, you're not entirely sure how your car is going to feel or what you're going to see when you go over that corner. So these drivers having to know the track by memory to place their Mazda MX-5 right at the perfect spot to be able to take those corners.
And we see a move for the lead here. Tony Wallace around the outside of Michael Chase. Feliz trying to go with him, gets himself back up to third place where he qualified, but Brian Lemke up 3 spots right now into fourth place, tucked in behind Feliz. He's going to try and make the move on the inside of Feliz too as well. Meanwhile, we got Aaron Sunday, crowd favorite in the chat. He always brings his fan club with him. He's working up through the field right now, currently sitting in 23rd place, up 2 spots. We'll keep an eye on how he moves through the field, but things get a little spicy up at the front here, Mac.
Yeah, and I like that we highlighted Aaron Sunday. A lot of love showing in the chat. I like that when people get out and support. He is an AM driver on the 9. I want to talk about top AM driver currently, Corey Mitchell in P15. Up 6 spots. Some of these guys that he has overtaken, Michael Tanagoretta included, Juan Colmenero as well. These are pro division drivers. So Corey Mitchell, as well as Sean Teeter and Ryan Ryder, making moves here on the pro class. They want those championship points. They want to lead their class.
Yeah, Corey Mitchell last week at Mosport, he actually ended up winning heat number 1. He was well ahead. I think it was Ryan Ryder, actually, that might have been the second place car in heat number 1. And he was comfortable. He was just in behind. There was a battle going on for the pros up front. And then on the last lap, there was a little bit of a calamity. There was a black flag, and lo and behold, Corey Mitchell ended up taking top spot. Got the fourth place start for the invert into the feature race, but unfortunately on, I think it was either lap 1 or lap 2, got involved in a little bit of an incident and basically ended his feature race. So not surprising to see Corey leading the AM class here again this week. He's usually fairly competent in the Mazdas, but the first half of the season was a little rough for him. Things are starting to change as we get closer to the end of the season.
Yeah, and unfortunately, since we are wrapped up, we only have, what is it, I believe 3 weeks after this? Is it 3 or 2,
Correct.
Rob?
3 more weeks, yep.
Yeah. So unfortunately for these drivers, the time for, turning a new leaf, starting a new page is kind of over. However, for drivers that aren't really fighting for a championship, this is incredible time to just get in the lab and work, formulate some new strategies, go over your braking, go over your cornering, doing something, and you're doing it at a very high level. I mean, the environment here, look, we've got a full grid. We've got drivers 5K, 4K, 3K iRating. There's not a better spot to hone your craft. As Jim Feliz is getting past, he unfortunately had a little bit of a moment there before heading into the S's and the eventual high-speed straight here. As Lincoln Fox going to give the grass a little mow right there, Rob.
Yeah, Lincoln Fox helping the landscaping crew out a little bit, cutting down a little bit of the greenery out there. He's currently sitting in 6th place. They've opened up a nice gap here over that secondary pack. They've got 5.8 seconds over Zinn in 7th place. So looks like the battle for the top 4 invert spots are going to come from the top 6 here, as we're just nearing the halfway point. Hard to believe we're only halfway through this one with the amount of action we've seen so far, but we still have another 10 minutes to go. And that secondary pack I was just speaking of, Zinn leading the way with Moss and Cooper in tow. A little bit of a gap over Bodway, but we've seen all season long that the gap for draft on these cars somewhere around 1.2 seconds. So as long as you are in blue or orange colors on the timing tower, that's going to denote you're a second or so less behind the car ahead of you. You're going to be getting some draft, as we see Zinn, Cooper, and Moss thinking about going 3 wide in the NASCAR corner. Thankfully, they thought a little better of that. 2 wide is about as max you want to go through there, Mac.
Yeah, I agree. And Zinni, unfortunately, going to be the one who draws the short stick of that situation. That's going to be the unfortunate reality when you drive these cars, when you have a long straight like this. The guy chasing is almost always going to have an advantage. As we see, we're not even halfway down the back straight to the start-finish line, and our friend Barney there, hello Barney, he is going to wave us down starting lap number 6 here, Rob. And Zinni, he's going to try to get back around, but I think he's probably going to have to wait until that back straight again.
Yeah, we see Jonathan Cooper looking to the left side of Zinn, trying to show his nose left and right here. Coop's been fairly aggressive all race, kind of seeing him out of the corner of a lot of the shots here. So I'm wondering maybe he might be pushing the envelope here a little too much. You see sometimes where those guys are really pushing hard, looking left, looking right. The next thing you know, they just get wrapped up in a bit of an incident. It's always tough when you're taking and constantly moving yourself off the racing line. Next thing you know, you've just kind of drove it a little too deep and you're getting into a little bit of contact with that car that's either ahead of you or not. But speaking of battle, as you mentioned, Corey Mitchell leading our AM class. He's got Kent Kruger, the AM winner from last season, got promoted up to pro this season. Currently sitting in 13th place, but both those guys admins of the league, and we've seen them come to blow on tracks before, not on purpose or not out of any malcontent, but it just seems to be they always seem to find each other on track, and sometimes they get into it a little bit here, Max. So we'll keep an eye on the two of them as Kent almost puts his rear bumper into Corey's trunk.
It's a really fun thing seeing two drivers have a little bit of an on-track rivalry. They always, get into each other or around each other. It's another thing for it to be two admins of the league, so gloves are off. Everybody on the grid is watching like, whoa, my two, the two boss men are going to war here. They're going to blows, and elbows are out. Going to be Kent Kruger on the inside of that high-speed blind corner. Like we said earlier, the 117 of Sean Teeter going to be able to keep his pace up, though, taking the optimal line. And you've got to have a ton of different, I guess that was a wrong way to put it. You've got to have a ton of pace over the guy that you are trying to overtake if you want to make something right there work. But here we are on the start, finish straight. Can we see a little bit of a run here from the 82? That's Zenny. He's going to be trying to push the issue around the outside, but at the end of the day, turn 1 has arrived, and I think he has to settle for another lap.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to have to try and find another way around. But speaking of somebody who's found another way around, Joshua Soto got himself back up into second place. We saw where he had to serve that slowdown and kind of fell back a little bit. Got himself back up into second now. Brian Lemke up 6 spots on the day, Mac, into first place. He's in a battle in the championship with Jim Feliz. Feliz came into this one, as you mentioned, going through the points with a hearty command of the championship over Lemke. But again, drop week stuff taking into account. These guys can drop 8 of the rounds, 2 rounds each night, so they can drop any 8 out of the 24 for the season. So still things can get a little closer as the season goes on. So Lemke definitely going to want to keep that 5-car spread between he and Feliz that sits right now in this one.
Yeah, and I want to touch back on something you said a little earlier, Rob. You said, I believe it was John Cooper being aggressive. And I know in these early months of the year, January, February, March, a lot of the hype around sim racing as a whole goes to the endurance events. I mean, we have the Rolex 24 in January. That kind of starts off a chain reaction going through all the way until, August or September of these special events that iRacing does. And the reason I'm saying this is because those endurance races, a lot of the time, is just patience. It's just patience and contentness, driving the car a little slower than you would in a race setting. It really makes passive driving shine. And with John Cooper here, and like you said as well, Joshua Soto, who unfortunately just lost his P2 there to Michael Chase, but it's aggressiveness like that that you have to harness, you have to bring out in a situation like this. It's only a 20-minute race. Granted, we have 2 of them. These guys are going to be driving for about an hour here tonight, but it's only 20 minutes. You don't have a lot of time to be content and let things happen. 20-car grid, there's almost 40 cars on this grid. You have got to go.
Yeah, it's it may seem like 40 minutes is a lot of time, as you mentioned, Mac, but yeah, once you break it into 2 separate heat races, that 20 minutes starts to tick off real quick. And that's where you see sometimes a little bit of argy-bargy, where the drivers feel that pressure to try and make their way up through the field, as we see Tony Wallace now getting himself up into 3rd place. He's getting ahead of Jim Feliz. Joshua Soto quickly cycled back to 5th place. You can see it here with the draft. When you're in such a pack here with the Mazdas, that draft, they break punch such a big hole in the air with these cars. They're only little cars, but they have no roofs, no rear windows, and it's like driving a transport truck down the highway, the amount of air that you can kind of pick up in behind them and use that draft. And so we see a lot of cycling here on the straights, drivers moving their way through, as it looks like we might have 2 3-car packs setting up here now, as Tony Wallace, Brian Lemke, and Michael Chase almost out of the draft here for Lee, Soto, and Fox.
Yeah, and with the 2 3-car packs here, lap times should get a little bit faster. And the reason I say that is because one big 6-car pack, you've got a car watching 5 other cars. That's going to take, whether you like it or not as a driver, that's going to take a little bit of your brain's attention away. When there's less cars around you, you can focus more on hitting your marks, hitting your lines, and so I do believe lap times are going to start shrinking. It's not going to be by a lot. It's only going to be by a few tenths, if that, but I do think with the cloud cover as well, track is cooling off from when we started. I'm sure of that. So these drivers are going to have a little bit of a utopian racetrack here. Going to be a lot of grip, going to be a lot of fun as we get ready for these final 3 minutes.
Yeah, we got the battles for both class leads on screen right now. Michael Chase currently leading the overall as well as the pro class. And on the inlay, we got Corey Mitchell leading AM mid-pack Larry's, but he's got Sean Teeter, second place car, right in behind them. So those 2 cars on the bottom screen, the last 2 in the line here, that's our top AM drivers battling it out. And then, of course, we still got that 6-car pack up ahead, as we're seeing Soto, Feliz, and Fox starting to reel back in that trio up ahead that tried to break away, Mac. And unfortunately, as I said, the draft really strong of these cars. They were at 1.3 seconds back, and they've still managed to get themselves back into draft.
Yeah, and what's funny is Joshua Soto has I don't want to say taken sides, but he has fell into that second pack, which is funny because he is the fastest car on track. 2-minute 06.614 is going to be his purple lap on the race tonight. I'm not entirely sure if fastest lap has any sort of championship implications here in Apex this, but regardless, he's fast. He is very, very quick, so it's very surprising to see. And you talk about the toe a lot as we see our fastest 5 drivers there in the bottom right. You talk about the toe, and we bring it up big time. It's really, really crucial that these guys extract every 10th they can, every 100th, every 1000th out of this toe, because with these low power cars like that, that's going to be where you make up a lot of speed. It's going to be in that toe, in that draft. So we see here Soto, he might be clamped on to the back of what I believe is Tony Wallace there in the 78. We might have ourselves a 6-car battle here for the last lap.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to have a last lap shootout of potentially those 6 cars, but we head back to the AM leaders as Sean Teeter had taken over top spot for Corey Mitchell for a couple of corners. Corey able to get it back, so they continue to battle it out. And then just up ahead of them, Brian Zinn and Kurt Moss, they've continued to battle. But Jonathan Cooper, I was kind of talking some smack about my buddy Coop early on, fellow Canadian here, but how he's pushing the limit. He's managed to get around Zinn and Moss. Had opened up a bit of a gap, but they've quickly reeled him back in. But let's head back up to the leaders as they're heading to the start-finish line to pick up the white flag for the final lap here, Mac.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that because John Cooper, Canadian driver number 77, he is up 5 spots. His fastest lap time is, no offense, not really anywhere close to the guys around him. So John Cooper doing an amazing job at planting his car where it needs to be. I say this a lot on my broadcast, but it's very, very beneficial when you can put your car in a position to make it harder to overtake. A lot of drivers here in iRacing, they will spend all of their energy, all of their mental capacity, all of their, for lack of a better word, talent getting up to you. It's way harder to overtake than it is to catch someone. So for the likes of John Cooper here, all he has to do is plant his car in the right spot. He keeps the position. When you boil it down, it's an oversimplification, but all you got to do when you're racing is just stay ahead of the guy behind you.
Yeah, the guy who's been ahead here for a while has been Michael Chase. It's rare to see a driver get out front and kind of stay out front here in the Mazda, especially at a track that's very draft heavy like V.I.R. You get a lot of long straights, although the snake isn't necessarily a straight, but you're more or less flat out in most every car through there, Max. So you get a ton of draft, but you see a little bit of a snake, as I mentioned, that on the back straight as Michael Chase trying to break the draft for Lemke and Soto in behind. Again, we got our AM battle on screen there as Kapinski and Teeter tangled a little bit. That's going to open up a little bit of a gap for Corey Mitchell leading our AM class, but here comes our leaders trio heading into NASCAR corner. Soto around the outside. Michael Chase just got the meat in the sandwich there with Lemke and Soto go around the outside, dropping him down to 3rd place, Mac.
Yeah, and that was crazy, and I'm not entirely sure if the time had ran out. I'm not sure if this is final lap or if we're going one more time. But here we go around the start-finish straight. It's going to be a run. I would assume by how they're driving, it might be the end here, but we might be granted one more lap. I believe we are, yeah. Or no, we are finished. Yeah, that is the checkered flag. Joshua Soto going to bring it home. Here is your AM battle. Corey Mitchell on the little bit of drama that happened toward the latter half of that last lap. Sean Gapinski is going to almost kind of walk in the win for Corey Mitchell as these drivers start to come across the line. Rob, I can't lie to you, that heat race number 1 was incredible. John Monsalve finishing just barely behind Michael Tenegretta, even though they are different classes. It was cool to see that. Yeah, that was an incredibly fun heat race number 1 to watch.
Yeah, the Mazdas never fail to entertain. I don't care what league it's in. The Mazdas are always great action. With the nice spread of drivers we have here in the Apex this league, there's basically somebody for everybody to battle on tracks. That's why we see those battles going all up and down the grid here, Mac. But let's take a look at the results here from race number 1. As you see, Joshua Soto ends up taking the win just ahead of Brian Lemke, only 600 separating those two drivers. Michael Chase, unfortunately, driver who we saw lead a number of laps through the back half of the race, he's going to come home in third place. And then let's take a look at our mid-pack Larrys with Corey Mitchell taking top spot ahead of Sean Teeter and John Monsalve going to come home in the podium position. So we're going to have a quick little 2.5 minute break here, and then we'll come back and we'll get into the feature race. So stick around.
There might be some rain coming through. We expect rain soon. Rain is close. The session has been declared wet. No sign of this rain stopping. Rain is clearing up. Rain should be gone for now. Nothing but sunshine all day.
Okay, we're back. So you had your first taste of Apex this Mazda action, Mac. How do you feel about that one?
I thought it was incredible, and as these drivers are getting their warm-ups in before we start the second race, I just want to say, man, it was great watching heat race number one. I mean, 20 minutes, you cannot ask for that much action anywhere. I mean, we're gonna have you guys in and out of here viewing a broadcast full grid in about an hour. It just doesn't get any better than that. I mean, this is just the dopamine hit of the century here.
As we see our drivers starting to grid up here for the second session, let's take a look at our grid here, and a reminder: top four from last race will invert. So we're going to see Tony Walsh on the pole with Michael Chase to his outside in row one. Row two, we're going to see Brian Lemke and Joshua Soto. That's P3 and P4. Row three is going to be Jim Feliz, our championship leader, and Lincoln Fox, new driver, to his outside in sixth place. P7 is going to go to Brian Zinn with the aforementioned Jonathan Cooper we talked about. He got himself up into eighth place. He's going to start there for the feature race. Kurt Moss and Spencer Roadway going to round out our top 10. Who we got in row six, Beck?
P11 going to be Corey Mitchell, Sean Gopinski in P12. Row number 7 will go to Sean Teeter and Kent Kruger. I apologize. Row number 8 is going to be Ozek Silu and Joseph Mar. I do apologize. Row 9, Michael Tanagretta, John Mansolve in P18. Row number 10 is going to be Kelly Greeno and P20, Ryan Ryder.
Row 11, we're going to find Justin back in 21st with Sean Giroux in 22nd place. Keaton Garrig and Glenn Blanchard going to make up 23rd and 24th in row 12. Row 13 is going to see Eric Elkins in 25th place with Juan Colmenero in 26th. 27th place goes to Aaron Sunday with Uwe Hale in 28th. 29th place, we're going to find Keon Majuro and Louis Sullivan. In 30th place, Ben and Jerry's paints theme. What a banger there, Mac. And Jacob Nelson going to round out our field.
Yes, sir. Jacob Nelson got the Nelson gang here. Unfortunately, he will. I'm not even sure if he's actually even here. I don't know if he's taking to his car. As we see in the picture-in-picture there, Kent Kruger, as well as the grid as a whole there on your primary screen. It's going to be cool, I think, Rob, seeing how these drivers handle the second heat. I mean, I know it's going to be a little bit of an expectation for you, considering you call these guys every single week. But for me here, I'm very interested to see how this invert towards the front is really going to shake out. I mean, these guys were so close in that heat race number 1. There's a good chance that the invert just really doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's, I kind of hope next season, we've been doing the inverts for a couple seasons now, and it's kind of varied for the number of cars that have inverted. I think with the high car count grids that we've had the last couple of seasons, where basically every race it's been 30 plus cars. Even last week with being Super Bowl Sunday, we had 25 plus cars on track. So I think we need to expand the invert to a few more cars, maybe the top 8, top 10 or something, just to make those guys that finish on the podium for race number 1 have to work a little harder to get to the front for the feature race.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's always a balance to be had. I think finding that balance is especially hard. Really, especially when you're doing it in a sim, atmosphere like this. You're always going to have someone who isn't very happy about it, and you're always going to have ways that this could be better than that. But, hats off to the guys here at Apex. This is the first time I've seen the Mazda Sunday series. Seems to be running like a well-oiled machine. The racing is close, it's competitive, it's very aggressive, but a very friendly aggressive driving, and that's what I love to see here out of the service.
Yeah, it's and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. There were years in the past where it was aggressive and very, very aggressive, and thankfully we've weeded out those drivers over the years, and I think we've got a real great group of drivers here in this league now. But we're getting ready to go green as they head through the final corner. The pace car, Barney's cousin, pace car Barney, has pulled off into the pits, and now we're waiting for that green flag to drop, and we can get the feature race underway. Another 20 minutes of action coming this way. So full points awarded after this one too as well. And again, points are only awarded where you finish in your class, not in the overall position. So Tony Wallace, Michael Chase can lead them into turn number 1. Looks like Wallace had a little bit of a head start there over Chase as he held back a little bit, but Lemke giving Wallace a push. I think those two are going to move up into top spot. Oh, so we got Corey Mitchell going off track. Oh, back on track into the side of Brian Zinn. And that's going to cause a little bit of an issue as everybody else gets bottlenecked and concertined up through there, Mac.
Yeah, unfortunately, the painting was on the wall, man. You've got those cars. They're going at high speed. They're hard on the brakes heading down into turn 1. If you take the grass, it turns into ice when you're on those brakes. Could not get the lowly little MX-5 stopped. I mean, even though this is one of the least powerful cars in the service, it's still going to be a trip to try to get slowed down. As you see him, he bumps the purple and green Mazda there, and he's just a passenger at that point. And yeah, Zenny getting absolutely crushed. Not how he wanted to start the race, but at the end of the day, those things happen.
I think Corey actually, oh yeah, there it was. So Spencer Bodway, looks like he checked up not to hit Kurt Moss, actually came over in front of Corey. Corey with nowhere to go, and unfortunately we see what happened there with Zinn facing the wrong way. Corey Mitchell missing his front bumper, and that Kent paint scheme on the front of Corey Mitchell's car not looking so hot here this evening.
Yeah, and stuff like that, it's going to demean these drivers. It's going to get them, beating themselves up about it. turn one, lap one always seems to be the worst time for a mistake to happen. It just seems like it weighs on your conscience as a driver just so much heavier. But best thing you can do is get back out there. The worst thing you can do is just hit that reset button, sit in the pits and sulk about it. No, you need to get out there, try to make up for the mistake. And, you know, that's how champions are forged, man.
Absolutely. It's how you deal with the adversity that really speaks on your character. As we're seeing Kurt Moss here at the end of the lead pack. Spencer Bodway hanging back a little bit there in behind, but I think he's going to have a little bit of damage on the left front. The right front, I guess, would be on that contact with Corey Mitchell. So we'll see if he's able to hold on to the pack. But Kurt Moss right now putting some pressure on the back of Lincoln Fox as these 7 cars, Mac, trying to break away from the rest of the field.
Yeah, and it's going to be one more than our previous endeavor here in the first heat race. It was a 6-car lead that we saw. Now Kurt Moss making it a 7-car lead there as we go picture in picture again. We see Michael Tanagretta down there in the bottom right, that MAV Motorsport driver. But in the top, kind of the same-o. These drivers getting out to a single file. They know if they work together to kind of break this tether from the rest of the grid, they can get their elbows out and race themselves during the latter half of this race. So we'll see if that's kind of the strategy they go for.
Welcome into chat, Corey Mitchell. We just had a look at your incident, so I don't think we're going to see you back on track a little bit, but unfortunate for you, you had a great first race. But Ryan Ryder, one of the AM drivers now, who's going to take advantage of that issue with Corey Mitchell. He's going to move himself up into second place. Actually, that's going to be top spot now, as it looks like Sean Teeter, who was leading our AM class, has spun out through Oak Tree. Going to have to wait for a large portion of the field to go by Mac before he can safely rejoin.
Yeah, and that's going to be hard. That's one of the most difficult corners on the circuit. You've got that double right-hander where the Oak Tree used to be. No more Oak Tree now. And yeah, as you can see, it's just with the whole camber of the corner, if you get that rear end stepped out just a little bit, I mean, it's much harder to save than it would be on a traditional corner, because you're still having to keep that momentum going to the right. You still have to make another corner. So if you have a mistake like that, you feel that rear end step out, you've just got to kind of ride it and hope it doesn't spin on you.
Yeah, tough pill to swallow there, but Ryan Ryder, Justin Back, and Keegan Garrig now our top 3 in AM class. Eric Elkins right there too as well. Eric up 10 spots where he started taking advantage of a ton of carnage there. As he's going to look into the inside of Keegan Garrig. So Eric, you can see that backseat broadcasting on the side of his car. Eric, the original broadcaster for this league way back when I started joining the league, I would say about 5-6 years ago now. So good to see Eric back on track. He's been back the last couple of weeks, putting in some laps and doing a little better this week than we saw him. I'm not sure if he was with us last week, but Long Beach, I believe, was the last time we saw him out, and unfortunately got wrapped up in an incident. So up a number of spots here into the top 15, 4th place in AM class for Mr. Elkins.
Yeah, and Corey Mitchell, like you said, having a little bit of an issue. So that top spot for the AM for this race going to be up for grabs. It looks like Ryan Ryder, Justin Back, Keegan Garrig, like you said, all vying, jockeying for position to try to get that done. But we're currently looking at Jim Feliz here in the 59, and it's interesting about Jim Feliz because in race number 1, he was also kind of that separator. He separated the front pack from the back pack. So is that something that Feliz likes to do? Is this catering to his strength? Does he like to get this pack out in front of everybody else? We'll just have to see. But for Jim Feliz, you can't help but think he's scheming up some wild strategies here to get a win here in heat race number 2.
Yeah, finished a little farther down the order than he would have liked for heat 1. Came to this one leading the championship, so trying to get as many points as he can. Comfortably still in 5th place. He can have a nice point haul if he can bring it home in that position. But the guy he needs to try and get back around is Brian Lemke, currently leading the way in the pro class. Then we see our mid-pack Larry battle on the in-screen. Justin Back in 2nd place. This looks like Michael Tanagretta just went off track. That pink and white MAV Motorsports car coming back on track. Bach and Garrig going to make their way around him, but that threw a little bit of a wrench in that battle now as Garrig try and look around the outside of the Bucky's machine of Justin Back to take second place in class.
Yeah, and these guys are getting really close as we head into turn one. It's going to be Bucky's versus Nintendo. Two legendary mascots here. We've got a beaver and we've got a monkey in Donkey Kong. One of the greatest games to ever grace the universe. If you're below the age of 21 watching this broadcast, please do yourself a favor. Go play a Donkey Kong game. Tell me that's not the first form of addiction. I remember playing Donkey Kong back in the day when I was growing up with my big brother Rob, and games like that, I'm telling you, man, that's what gets you. That's what gets you.
Yeah, who doesn't enjoy jumping over some barrels in Donkey Kong and trying to save the princess, right? It's everything we've been told from a young age. You got to save that princess and got to beat the monkey. But so we'll see if I believe it was Keegan Garrick with the Donkey Kong paint theme on his car. It is. We'll see if he's able to roll some barrels here at his competitors up ahead, Eric Elkins and Justin Backus. Looks like Aaron Sunday, unfortunately, falling back. His fan club not going to be happy about that one. A little off-track incident for him. He's going to lose a number of positions down into 24th now.
Yeah, the LA driver there having a little bit of a problem as he comes through the double right-hander Oak Tree corner, heading on to the back straight, and he just seems to be a little out of tune with his car. There is Aaron Sunday. You could see him as he was coming in to the first of two right-handers there at Oak Tree. He just didn't really have complete wraps of the car. We got some side-by-side racing here. The 117 of Sean Teeter along with Sean Giroux. They're going to be side-by-side into that blind corner, heading down in the final sector of the track. Very, very wise on the side of the number 6 Mazda there, Sean Giroux, to kind of get out of the way. I think that might have been chaos if he had to stay side-by-side.
Yeah, Sean Giroux, a fairly safe driver for the most part, isn't going to try and force the issue wide. Comes into this one, I think he was in 4th or 5th in the AM points, tied with whoever it was. I think he was actually tied with whoever was in 4th and 5th. I can't remember off the top of my head who they were, but so he's battling a championship battle, can't really force the issue. One thing you have to be a little more cognizant of, Mac. If you're in those championship battles, you don't really want to force the issue on track, because a DNF is going to cost you a lot more in points than maybe losing 1 or 2 positions.
Yeah, and that's where the mental capacity really starts to take shape and it really starts to get used, is when you talk about strategy. Yes, being fast in a race car around a circuit is the name of the game, but unfortunately, we don't have engineers, at least in my bedroom. I don't know if you do, Rob, but I don't have an engineer. I don't have a crew chief. I don't have a pit crew sitting, waiting, telling me what to move, what moves to make at every single corner of every single racetrack. So these guys, they've got to do it all themselves. So not only do they have to be fast on track, they've got to be a genius in how they plan and strategize their race here. Only 2 20-minute heats, but there's still a lot of thinking and a lot of strategy that can go into play here.
Absolutely. You see a little bit of strategy here. Tony Wallace, who's getting that draft, pulling up into the back of Soto and Lemke, chose not to make the move off to the left-hand side, just chose to stay there, bide his time, maybe set up to make a move into turn 1 here. Back where he could maybe stay out front through a couple of corners, as there's always that chance you make the move on the back straight there, get ahead of these guys, and then they just pass you back in the front straight once you cross the start-finish line.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Rob. There's just a ton of stuff that you have to think about, and for every single move you make, you have to realize what your opponent can do to counter that move. It's racing, but it's also chess. These guys have to figure out what their opponent's going to do. They have to know what they're doing before they do. That's going to be the big advantage there, as we see Michael Chase there getting squeezed off just a little bit in turn 1. He is going to be still in 4th, trying to fight his way up. He now has a little bit of a crowd behind him watching, as that's Jim Feliz, championship leader, Kurt Moss, Spencer Beaudoin as well. So the crowd is forming up, and we might have ourselves a battle here, final 8.5 minutes.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised Spencer Beaudoin. I get to give him some props here. I thought him with that damage that he would have got from that contact with Corey Mitchell, it might have cost him a little bit on the top end, but I think as long as he stays in the draft there in behind Kurt Moss, is he be able to stay with this pack? So we'll see maybe later on once things get a little more, let's say, rushed, where drivers have lost their patience here, Mac, because we still got about 8 minutes to go. So it's still another 3.5, potentially 4 laps once they cross the line. So still some time for the drivers to move and shake up and down the field. No real need to put a ton of pressure. That's probably why we're seeing a little more, single file conga line racing here than we might see in a couple laps.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just attributes back to wanting to get away from the rest of the grid. Everyone knows chaos breeds chaos here in the iRacing official service. It's kind of a good motto to look at life as well, but when you're in a battle, and I touched on it a little bit earlier, when you're in a battle with 15 cars, things can go sour very, very fast, and oftentimes they do. But if you have a battle with 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 or 6 cars, yeah, that's going to be a lot of real estate taken up on track, but it's not as much real estate as 20 cars takes up. So you can place your car a lot better. You have a little bit more freedom of choice, so to say. And as we're wrapping that up, coming to the start-finish line, it's going to be another battle of the monkey and the beaver. As we have Sean Gapinski and the driver in front of him failing Justin Bach in the Buckies. So 16th and 17th. And look at that, Rob. Not only does he have a Buckies car, he's number 6-7 as well. So he is just checking all the boxes for me here tonight.
We might call this the meme battle here with the Mario car, the Bucky's car, and the Donkey Kong car on track here, Mac. But as you mentioned, they continue to battle it out. Our lead pack up ahead, still fairly status quo for them. Lemke leading the way over Soto and Wallace. We got Lincoln Fox here trying to drag Ryan Ryder with them up into that pack. They've fallen 5 seconds back, but they're 3 seconds ahead of Ozek Sulu and Jonathan Cooper, who again, they have another 2.5 second gap over the battle between Kent Kruger and Joseph Mara, as we see Joseph giving Kent a little bit of bump draft heading to the S's there as they try and catch up to Sulu and Cooper up ahead. They got Tanagretta now in tow, so see maybe these 3 cars can carry a little more pace in the draft to catch up to a 2-car duo of Cooper and Sulu.
Yeah, and if you're a few cars ahead of that, Lincoln Fox, you touched on him earlier, out in no man's land. He's got no car by him to get any sort of draft off of. We're seeing the 3-car battle that Rob highlighted there, but a little ways in front. As you can see there, John Cooper trying to make things work as well. So for the 77, he's got himself an advantage over that 3-car battle, but he doesn't really have the draft like these cars have behind them, so they are surely going to catch up. It's going to be a race against the clock here for Cooper.
Yeah, the clock becoming more of a nemesis here as we about to click over the 5 minutes to go here, Mac. Let's take a check-in on our leaders, which still looks fairly status quo. Nobody really moving here. Looks like everybody's just kind of a little game of chess here up the front, Mac. Drivers kind of jockeying for position here, setting themselves up for the last lap moves. Keeping an eye on the driver ahead of you, see where maybe you can potentially stick a nose in, try and force them out a little bit wider, take that position away, where nobody really trying to force the issue right now and potentially lose not only a position, but maybe put their car off track with a little bit of damage. I say that Michael Chase looks up the inside of Tony Wallace, but unable to make that move stick. He's going to have to pull back in with that 371 competition car.
Yeah, and I think it's very funny about what I'm going to say. This is giving very super speedway vibes. You see the conga line. You see, as one of my first ever broadcast partners, Tony Trapasso, may he rest in peace, he said it's a conveyor belt as we get a bunch of drama there, a bunch of action. That's going to be Jim Feliz, championship leader. He is going to be taking a little trip through the grass, giving it a little bit of a cut. But back to what I was saying, the conveyor belt is going to be very, very strong here in the final little bits of the race here, Rob. We go into the final laps. These drivers, if they want to move up a position, they're going to have to form a new line, much like a super speedway. And if these guys behind the car don't join him and he doesn't get any friends up there on a second line, they are going to get pushed back like a conveyor belt to the back of the line. So yes, a lot of drivers like the 371 here, Michael Chase, their heart, their brain is telling them to make a move, but they know if they do and they do not succeed, there could be 2, 3, maybe even 4 spots to lose because of it.
Yeah, as we just saw in that replay, contact between Kurt Moss and Jim Feliz. Fortunately, that's dropped Feliz down into 7th place, so that's going to be a little bit of a dent in his championship points haul. But as you mentioned, coming in comfortably, leading this one, so it shouldn't affect him too much. He'll still have plenty of drop weeks to put into play, but things start to get a little more dicey up front as our leaders cross the line with about 2 minutes, 45 seconds to go. So they'll have this lap plus 1 more here, Mac. So we're going to start to see a little more aggression here from their drivers, trying to find a way around the driver they've been chasing here, following for the last 10 minutes. As we see Bodway, Wallace, and Moss getting a little more elbows out here.
Yeah, and a perfect example of what I just went on a tirade about, Rob. We saw them P3 through P6, that's 4 cars. They went 2 by 2, they cubed up for turn number 1. And what does that mean? P1 and P2 are out to a little bit of an advantage. P3, Michael Chase, he recognized the problem. He was first one in, so I guess technically he didn't really have the issues of that 2 by 2 or the consequences, I guess, to follow. But for the likes of Tony Wallace, Spencer Beaudoin, Kurt Moss, those guys took the L on that one, and they are going to have to retry, which 1 lap later they have kind of started to regain. But not every lap is going to be that simple.
Yeah, the strategy is going to start to come into play here. We'll see who's been galaxy braining the thoughts and the potential moves here the last couple laps. Back as we see Soto moving out to the left-hand side. Try to get a little run on Lemke, but tucked back in behind. Nobody really wanted to go with him, but Michael Chase going to try and go late onto the brakes into NASCAR and move around the outside of Soto. Unable to do it. Soto going to hold on to that spot. So round through Hogpen, and then the last corner to the start-finish line. They're going to kick off the final lap here. Back, it's going to come down to one of these 6 drivers, I suspect, to take a win unless something happens and all 6 of them get wrecked out. But I don't see something like that. I should say I don't see something like that. I've seen it happen before, so hopefully it doesn't. And it looks like it's going to come down to one of these 6 drivers in the pro class.
Yeah, and if I'm Brian Lemke or Josh Soto, the mission's clear. Stay in front. I think Josh Soto would much rather have a P2 than a P6. So I don't think he's going to try to get too mixy. If I was Tony Wallace, Spencer Beaudoin, or Kurt Moss, my eyes would be on that 371 of Michael Chase. Of these 6 drivers, he has clearly been the most aggressive and right on cue, heading down into the penultimate corner before we start these S's here. He tried to take a stab at it, much like he did a lap before. No die there. That's going to kill the run of all the cars behind him coming up through these S's.
Yeah, it looks like nobody willing to make a move before the S's. They're going to stay in tow. So who's going to make the move on the back stretch? That's one of these things with these cars, back where you can be 3rd, 4th, 5th in line. You get all the draft off those cars ahead of you. And I've seen guys pass 2, 3 cars into a corner here. So Michael Chase, Tony Wallace, we'll have to keep an eye on them. They're right in that kind of potential area to get double, triple draft off the cars ahead of them and make the move. So we got the in car with Tony Wallace on the bottom. We'll keep an eye here to see what kind of draft he gets, and we'll see if Soto and Lemke can defend any potential move here by those cars in behind.
Yeah, and I don't know if it was intentional, but a very good job on Brian Lemke. I took note of his speed through those corners the last few laps. He went about 3 miles an hour slower. Not sure if that was to maybe kill the run, but we have it here. That's going to be Josh Soto trying to make a move.
Soto looking to the outside, Lemke trying to fight back, but unfortunately for Lemke, Soto going to have the inside line through the next corners. Michael Chase trying to make a move too as well. We saw in Heat 1 where it was the opposite, where Soto and Lemke made him the meat in the sandwich. He's trying to do the reverse here on Lemke on the final lap. Looks like Soto going to take this one, but now the battle is for second place between Chase, Lemke, and Wallace. Looks like Michael Chase going to take it at the line. Oh, Lemke coming back. Oh, photo finish there. Looks like Michael Chase was able to hold him off at the line.
Wow, I'm glad I'm not in an official position because I would have gave that to Brian Lemke. It looked like Lemke all the way. What a finish there between P2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, well done for them. Looks like Ryan Ryder going to take AM. Justin back in second place, and Sean Teeter going to round out our AM podium. So well done to all of our drivers there. And looks like Glenn Blanchard going to be our final car on the lead lap, and then that should make everything official. Looks like we're going to finish with 21 out of our 28 cars finishing up on the lead lap. So well done to everyone involved.
Yeah, and I mean, this could be old news. It could be, you know, a normality here in the Apex this Mazda Sundays. But Ryan Ryder, AM driver, finishing in P7. I'm not sure if that's something normal here, but what a performance there from the 181.
He's had some pace all season. Unfortunately, he's been involved in a few incidents here and there too as well. And it's, I guess, an unfortunate, I don't want to say necessity, unfortunate side effect of if you're in the AM class, where those drivers kind of start in somewhere between 10 and 20th position more often than not. And on a lot of tracks, Mac, that's just seems to be where the carnage kicks off. A lot of times you get the cars at the front of the field checking up for the first corner, and it's kind of, you know, if you've ever been on the highway, one car breaks and then about the 10th car in line has to brake even harder because everybody just concertines up from there, and that's where those drivers kind of get wrapped up in it. But let's take a look at the results here from our feature race. First, let's take a look at our pros. We saw Joshua Soto take the overall win, as well as first in pro class. With Michael Chase getting a little bit of revenge on Lemke from taking him to town in the final corner in the heat race. He gets second spot. Lemke going to have to settle with third place. And then over on the mid-pack Larry side, Ryan Ryder, as you mentioned, taking top spot in AM, with Justin back in the Bucky's machine coming home in second, and Sean Teeter rounding out the field. So we had a couple drivers in the
charge by Eric Elkins.
Yeah, nice run by Eric Elkins. Nice to see him back, as I mentioned, doing well. So we got a couple drivers in the waiting room waiting to have a chat with us. Let's see if we can catch up with a couple of those. Let's bring in our feature racer winner, Josh Soto, to catch up with Mac Nelson.
Yes, sir. Joshua Soto, Mac Nelson up in the booth. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, I saw a stat. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the only lap you led that race was the final lap. So walk me through it. Was it something you had mapped out the entire time? Did it go to plan, or is that just, you know, kind of how it happened?
Yeah, it's kind of like how it happened, and kind of just positioning and a little bit of planning as well. Yeah, I knew that the back straight you have like a lot more advantage, so it's better to be in like second or either third for the last corner. I mean, not the last corner, but the back straight on V.I.R. But sometimes you can make it work in on the back straight, but it's a lot more difficult.
Yeah, now we're going to stay in America here. We're going to head over to the west. You're visiting Laguna Seca and the iconic Corkscrew next Sunday. Is that somewhere that's going to be circled on your calendar, or is it a track that you don't really prefer? Where do you expect to kind of end up when all things are said and done?
Oh yeah, Laguna Seca is a really great track. It's definitely on the calendar. I raced there a lot of times, and it's one of the more challenging tracks. It's very technical, so you have to be very smart about your braking points and where you turn in. So I'm looking forward to the track.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you had it on rails here tonight. And before we let you get out of here and celebrate your feature win here tonight, is there anybody you'd like to shout out or thank for the performance here?
Oh yeah, for sure. At first, I'd like to thank my sponsor, Academy Sim Racing, and then I would like to thank all the league admins, all the people involved in this great series, and I'd also like to thank you guys, Rob and Mac.
Well, we appreciate the kind words towards Racer Nexus. We appreciate you joining us in the booth. Hope you have a fantastic night. Hope to see you back here in the booth next week.
Okay, thank you.
That was Joshua Soto going back to back here tonight. Let's bring in the driver that he was battling with for most of the race, Brian Lemke. Lemke, in the heat race, you and Soto were able to make Michael Chase the meat and the sandwich on the final lap. The feature race looks like Chase was able to get you back. He couldn't quite get Soto to as well, but overall, how'd your night go?
Man, that was so much fun. What a fun night. I feel like it's been a while since I talked to you. I was missing out. I wanted to talk to you. But I didn't qualify very well. Kind of had to work there at the beginning of the heat race. But once I got up there in the pack with these guys, was able to make some moves and stick with them. And the first race, we kind of got 3 wide there for a little, and it was kind of just a little sketchy at the very end, but we managed to get through. Soto with the win. Second race, I knew he was pushing me the whole race. I knew he was setting me up, and I was fine with it. I have no problem with that. Not a whole lot I can do. I tried to slow down a little bit in that last hairpin, trying to stay close to him, but he just motored right by. My hope was to finish second behind him. What I didn't expect was Michael Chase to give me such a great run there at the end, and I think it was a photo finish. Our times were identical. I'm looking at the finish line. I don't know if you had a chance to look at that, but it is... I'm not sure you can tell who the winner is, but they gave it to him, so that was absolutely awesome. What a great fun night of racing that was.
Yeah, I'm showing it came down to 0.617. Both of you back behind Soto, so iRacing unfortunately doesn't show us to the 10,000th point, but deadlocked to the 1,000th decimal point there at the line. But I thought it looked like Chase was going to hold you off, and then at the last second you started charging forward, so I was kind of watching the timing tower to see who was going to get shown as finishing up in second place. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see how many decimal points iRacing had to go to determine the winner. But we head to Laguna Seca next week. How comfortable are you feeling heading into that one? You made a few points up on Jim Feliz, who had a little bit of a rough feature race. He's going to finish up in 11th, so a couple points gained for you there as we head into round 10, sorry.
Yeah, the points are difficult, man. Jim is so fast. All these guys, Soto's flying. It's gonna come down to the wire. I think some bonus points are gonna matter. Maybe somebody can steal the clean bonus from Zen. That would help out. But we'll see what Laguna Seca brings. It's usually some pretty good racing there. I'm looking forward to it. I'm having a great season, a lot of fun. All these guys up front are just pushing so good right now. It's a great battle every week. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun to call to as well. So before we let you go, anybody you want to shout out here, Brian, before we move on?
Shout out to you, man. Happy to talk to you. I feel like it's been a few weeks. Not a lot of podiums for me this season. I seem like I'm in 4th and 5th every week, and then I miss talking to you. But shout out to you, man. I love your broadcast. Always a lot of fun. Shout out to Sky Lounge for hooking up this season. Shout out to Apex and all the admins and all the drivers. Just a lot of fun. It's been a really good season for sure. And looking forward to more. A couple more weeks left to shake this all out. Once we get the drop weeks in, who knows? It could be anybody's season coming up.
Great stuff. Well, take care, Brian, and hopefully we get to talk to you again next week at Laguna Seca.
I hope so. Have a good one. Thank you.
Take care. It was our 3rd place finisher, 2nd place in the heat, 3rd place in the feature, Brian Lemke. And then our final driver we'll bring in is Tony Wallace to catch up with Mac Nelson.
Yes, sir. Tony Wallace, Mac Nelson in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, I do.
Before we get things started here, I would just like to say very quick, the guy who installed my air conditioning's name was Tony Wallace, so I already had a little bit of want to root for you, Tony. You finished 4th here tonight in the feature, and I mean, it was like brawling with titans up there. You guys were locked in every single lap, every single corner. What did it feel like, and just how fun was it?
It was extremely fun, and it was extremely stressful. Never knowing when somebody was going to just try to take the inside and dive. There was a couple times where Chase was showing his nose when I was ahead of him, and a couple other guys were showing their nose. So it made it stressful the whole time, but it was a fun race.
Yeah, and so we head to Laguna Seca next week, and we're staying in the theme of American road courses here. We're wrapping up the championship season. How do you feel going into Laguna Seca? I mean, you got a P4. It's the top 5 for the MAV Motorsport team here. Does that give you confidence going into Laguna Seca? Are you going to try to pull off maybe a heist, get yourself a win?
I would love to get myself a win. Laguna Seca could be hit or miss for me. Sometimes I am on fire on that track, and other times, just okay. If I could pull out all the cards and do what I need to do that day, it could be a win. But we have a lot of good guys on this track, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of good battling going on that track. So.
Yeah, the field is very strong here. That's what makes the wins that much sweeter. Before we let you get out of here, Tony, we're going to let you shout out, thank whoever you want for the performance here tonight. You earned it.
Yeah, just shout out to the MAV Motorsport team. Always being there to support me and push me to be better. And just shout out to the family,
Yeah, well, wise words coming out of a wise man there. Tony Wallace, your 78 Mazda driver here, finishing P4 on the feature. It was great talking to you. Hope to see you back up in the booth here soon.
Thank you.
So that's going to wrap up interviews here tonight at V.I.R. Mac. I'm looking forward to Laguna Seca. We've done a bunch of tracks that I would say are more drafty type tracks this season. Laguna Seca, not necessarily a draft track. You really only have that front straight, which, half of it's uphill, and then you get the downhill portion into turn 3 and Andretti corner. So it's going to be a little more of a driver's track. We might see a little more separation, and maybe we'll see some different drivers up towards the front. It's going to be interesting to see next week.
Yeah, I agree. Laguna Seca, one of the most classic, one of the most prestigious courses in America. The elevation change is going to be tricky for all sorts of drivers. So it's going to be very fun to see how they whip those Mazdas.
And yeah, should be fun. Looking forward to it. Before we go here, we should mention if you're interested in joining the league, you can find the Discord for the league in the description of the video, as well as a 5% discount code for Apex Sim Racing. Get yourself 5% off anything they sell in store, from their own brand of Apex Sim Racing products to brands like MAZDA, SimMagic, SimiCube, as well as getting yourself a PC system. Get on track from Rich D PC. And then again, all of our track cams brought for us tonight by TrackCams22, TrackCams for Gourmets. Check them out too as well, and we thank them. So for Racers Nexus, I'm Rob Campbell, Mac Nelson in the booth with me. We'll catch you next week, same time, same place, but we'll be on the opposite coast of America at Laguna Seca. Bye for now.